My name is Alyssa Bruno, and I'm the school programming coordinator here at Historic Huguenot Street. For the health and safety of our visitors and our entire community, Huguenot Street will be closed to the public for the duration of the COVID-19 pandemic. However, we still want to stay engaged with the community and continue to offer our programming virtually. One of the many virtual programs we will be offering is the weekly reading of a children's book from our museum shop. Last week, we read She Persisted by Chelsea Clinton together. This book taught us about 13 historical and contemporary women who never gave up despite obstacles they faced as women. Today, we will be reading My Name is Truth by Anne Turner with the permission of HarperCollins Children's Books. Isabella Bonfrey was born into slavery in New Paltz Patent in 1797, and she was enslaved by several different families in the area until she escaped and gained her freedom in 1826. Isabella would go on to travel across the country, advocating for women's rights and the abolition of slavery. Along the way, Isabella found her true name, Sojourner Truth. My Name is Truth tells the story of Isabella's escape from slavery, the obstacles she faced even in freedom, and her journey to her true name. My mama was a slave woman called Mama, with sweet arms and eyes like a hawk. I had a daddy too, Bomfrey. They loved all 12 of us, and had to see us sold off one by one, like horses for work. Their hearts most broke. Mama told me to look up at the stars at night, shining over my brothers and sisters. We never hardly saw them again. Her heart had 12 holes in it, I know. I got bought for $100 when I was 9. At least they spoke my tongue, Dutch. Next place, I was bigger now, worth $150. They did not speak words I knew. I was always getting beat. Once he fired up a bunch of green sticks in the fire, hardened like stone, and beat me until the blood ran. Those marks will never go away. I can feel them like ridges under my dress. Then Master Dumont bought me. He was not so bad, but mistress was evil. They thought my back was a cart for hauling rocks, wood, timber, and grain. I worked hard as a man. Did they ever see me, Isabella, under these loads? Time came, he said. Isabella, you are a good woman. You can go free 1 year early. But he broke his promise. I determined to leave. I owned myself now. I was not a slave. I spun 100 pounds of wool to make up for leaving, crept out of the door in the darkness. My baby Sophia clutched in my arms and walked and ran and walked for miles looking over my shoulder. Would he chase me? Would he not? Until God showed me the way to a kind family that took me in, the baby too. Welcome, they said. Had anyone ever said that word to me before? And showed me a fine wide room with a white bed to sleep in. I never slept in a bed before. Just let me creep under it and be like a shelter of leaves. Finally sleep came to my eyes. Worked for the Van Wagenens for a few years. Then the terrible news struck my heart like lightning. The evil Dumont mistress sold my son Peter away down south. They are not allowed to do that by law. I marched up to the Dumont house to meet that lady. I want my son back. Get me my son. She laughed. What a lot of fuss over a little colored boy. But I demanded my son back. I felt as tall as a tree inside, courage racing all around my heart. I got lawyers to help, and finally Peter came home again. His back a mess of scars, his soul too. Frightened of his mama at first, but he came to know me at last. I worked in New York City for a while. Won't spend that long on that. Met some bad people and some good ones. But God was leading me east to preach. I left at dawn, and God spoke in my heart. a new name that fits me like a new dress, just for me. Now I am sojourner, because I travel far and long, to tell the news of God's truth in meetings and gatherings. People like to hear me talk. I think with a name like Sojourner Truth, a body has some respect at last. I found a new home in Massachusetts, at a silk mill where all men and women were equal. I was happy there, bought a little house, my very first, and preached even more. One night at a camp meeting, there was a bunch of rowdies kicking up a storm. I was afraid they'd come for me, the only colored woman in the crowd. I hid behind a trunk, then my heart spoke. Sojourner, are you weak? Isn't God with you right now? I strode out and climbed onto a wagon back, spoke and sang and preached to the rowdies till they were calm. Something about my voice is like a blanket on a fretful baby. Then at times my voice is like Gabriel's trumpet, firing people up, telling them the good news of salvation and the terrible days of slavery. People can't just believe an ex-slave woman can speak her truth in power. Once at a rally, a man jumped up and shouted, "You must be a man. You are tall as one, powerful as one. You want me to show you I am a woman?" I threatened to open my dress, but others made him back down in shame. I showed them my truth then. I've told my story to Olive Gilbert, a kind woman at the mill in Northampton. I see all those words creeping across the page as she writes. I will go to the road again, selling my narrative of Sojourner Truth and the photographs of me. Those shadow pictures bring in money to feed the real woman. Sometimes I sit in amazement in some fine living room remembering, I was a slave, working in sweat, beaten, sleeping on hard floors. Now I sleep in a real bed and rally others with fiery words. I think of my daddy, my brothers and sisters, like 12 shining stars. I will see them again and my own children again someday. Mama will put her sweet arms around me, and I will be home at last. Thanks for tuning in and reading with me today. If you want your very own copy of My Name is Truth, you can purchase it in our online shop. Starting today through April 12th, you will receive 10% off the book's original price of $17.99 at checkout. This will bring the cost of the book to $16.19 before taxes and shipping. If you live locally, you can arrange to come pick up the book instead of having it shipped. Thank you again for your interest in Historic Huguenot Street. I hope to see you again next Monday at 10 a.m. for another reading.